One of the reasons why I thought of the analysis community as one of the most important parts of the Brony fandom is because, well, at the time, a lot of people did like the show, but there was someone who needed to explain why it was so beloved and why it was so good. People who could properly review its quality and help others understand how great of a show it really is. They would talk about how much the characters are growing or how much more interesting and complex the stories have gotten, and all of the new ways that they managed to find a way to stay relevant, do something to just keep it going. These were people who were talking about the show when everybody else was just making videos and fan art and music that don't really explain why they got so sucked into the show in the first place. But the people of the Bronalysis community, they were talking about why the show was so valuable to so many people, and how much the characters really mean to us. And during the apex of the Bronalysis community age, before Season 4 was on, one of those people was GoldenFox, and I was watching him for a long while. Like, I was watching him and all the others from the very beginning, back when they were a lot more active. And I knew that he was one of the more popular reviewers because of his sub count and how much viewership his content was getting. He wasn't as definitive as maybe Dr. Wolf or Josh Scorcher, but it was still possible to recognize him. When you see his OC, when you hear his voice, you can tell that it's GoldenFox. And when I first started watching him, he was always so bright and cheerful and interested in what he was doing. I still remember that time that I saw Toon Critic and Eliora's presentation at, Anime Midwest back in, was it 2014? Yeah, back in 2014. I saw him having so much fun working with Toon Critic, and the production of his content was so great. He could do things that I could never hope to because I can't really edit for shit. And during the time of Season 4, I was still watching him, and I actually really liked what he had to say, for the most part. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but because of the drama, and because of all the people who were arguing at the time, I have the strong feeling that the drama influenced the way that I watched his content. Just like everybody else, he was accusing Pinkie Pie of flanderization, expressing a loss of interest in reviewing the show, and he was getting into small arguments with people in his comment section. Like, he wasn't as open-minded as he was before Season 4. And when I started doing my rant phase, I started thinking really hard about how much that's going against what he was standing for and what the spirit of the Brony fandom is supposed to be represented by. The Brony fandom shouldn't be represented by people who are fighting and losing interest in their place in the fandom. And as I continued to think about that more heavily, my feelings and my anger got stronger. I was just so spiteful and hate-filled. There was a time that, GoldenFox, I hated you. I don't know why, but every time I thought of your voice, when I thought of your OC, when I thought of what you said in your reviews, there was just something that made my stomach turn. I just didn't understand why I had this feeling towards you, but it was something that I went with as I was going into this ranting phase. I just couldn't think of any reason to not do my rant on you. Even after I saw you going through some kind of positive change, when you did your review of the cutie map, I never stopped feeling that way. I still thought of you as a scapegoat, to get people to listen to me about what I had to say. And I knew you were in a relationship with Keyframe, and I was worried about your relationship because I wasn't sure if it was going to work out. I knew you yourself said that you have problems managing your emotions, and I wasn't sure if that was a healthy relationship for Keyframe to be in. I just thought she was too good for you at the time, and I had no idea what she was really going through, or what you were. My rant on you was harsh, and it's the one that I regret the most, because despite everyone telling me that you were doing better, and despite that I saw it for myself, I still decided to do it anyway. I didn't care for any effort you were putting into making a difference. I just wanted to make the video that I was promising to my audience and to myself. But still, there was something peculiar about you. You yourself said that despite my harshness, I had some nice things to say about you. And it's true. You weren't like Biter or Mage or Cuddlepug or Digibro or Tommy Oliver. Despite everything that I was going into and how harsh I was being, I still said at the very end that you were capable of going in the right direction. But I still thought that it shouldn't have excused the mistakes that you made in Season 4. And after the rant came out, and everyone started getting a lot more frustrated with what I was doing, I started to wonder if what I did to you was too much, especially knowing for myself that you were trying to do better, and especially after A&Y himself told me the same thing. I know you came across our discussion in that one comment section, and it was a window of you understanding that I wasn't as bad as I may have seemed. Honestly, when I first started doing this, I was thinking I wanted to be like Dr. Wolf, Silverquill, Josh Scorcher, people in the fandom who, despite all the drama, are still loyal to their love for the show and what the fandom has been through. People that this fandom could look up to give a light-hearted and loving representation on the show when others were giving it a bad rep. And after a while, that way of thinking was starting to change. That conversation I had with you, it was something that I needed to feel better when I was starting to really, really feel pressured over everything that I had gotten myself into. When everybody else was hating me and telling others to ignore me because I was a hater, you were willing to look at me. And after that, you were willing to talk to me over what was going on. And after that, we started talking a little bit more and a little bit more, and I was really enjoying myself, getting a chance to speak with you on a more personal manner. I was really starting to think about the advice you were giving me. I understand why you were telling me to do it, because a part of doing all of that ranting was hurtful towards others and myself. I didn't want to keep doing that, so I pulled back on the harshness when I thought about doing my Digibro and Tommy Oliver ranting. I wanted to show that I was capable of making a better decision, one that was different from the ones that I was making so far. And when I finally did it, and when I heard about how people were starting to feel less annoyed about what I was doing because I apologized to you, and I got less angry at people, I was starting to realize maybe I really can do better. I really wanted to talk to you more, on a much more personal level too. So I decided to speak with you through private messages on DeviantArt. I'm sure you do remember all of the things that I said that day, but it was a long time ago, and I just want to make sure that nothing was forgotten. I wanted to start off by saying I was really wrong about you. Like, I really, really was wrong about you. I thought you were this frustrated ball of angst who was going to get upset and furious with me for what I was doing, but you decided to take a more calm and peaceful approach. And the way that you were so willing to listen to me, I decided that maybe I shouldn't be treating you like this. If you really did cry when I apologized to you, then you're not the short-tempered person that people were getting the impression of. You were a person who was completely different from all of that. You were someone who was kind and understanding and friendly and encouraging, and you didn't deserve all of the crap and negative feedback that you were getting for any of that. Maybe you'd say that some of it was warranted because of the way you acted during Season 4, but that was all in the past, and you were never acting that way because you wanted to hurt anybody. You were acting that way because you were just like me. I remember the way you talked in your anniversary video for Keyframe, how you were somewhat of a misanthrope and you weren't finding a lot of things to keep you happy. But because of connections in the Brony fandom, and because you were good friends with A and Y, and because you were watching Silverquill's videos, you came across Keyframe, and the two of you really hit it off. You were becoming friends, you were getting more acquainted with each other, you were starting to learn about what she was going through. But despite all of the depression that the two of you were going through, you were there for each other. Each of you was a beacon of light in each other's lives. When you felt like you were in a dark and lonely place, you started being there for each other even more, because you realized how much happiness that light was giving to you and the other person. You were starting to care for each other a lot more, and that friendship blossomed into something wonderful. You wanted to keep making each other happy no matter what, whether it was through a project on a video or talking to each other on Skype. You just wanted to be there for each other. Nothing mattered to you more than the other's happiness. Your dedication to comforting her whenever she was in trouble or whenever she was having a bad time in her household, that was dedication for a cause unlike any I had ever heard of. And you didn't do it just because you loved her. You did it because you knew it was the right thing to do, and that it was wrong for her to be in a household where no one respected or loved her, because she deserved better than that. You knew that she deserved to be in an environment where she could be happy and safe with all of her friends, and anyone else that she was becoming acquainted with in the fandom. You did all of that because you wanted her to feel safe. You were there for her in a time where she had nowhere else to go and no one else to look up to. You're the reason she's still alive. And with all of this in mind, there is no one who deserves Keyframe more than you. And Keyframe deserves you more than any girl in the world, because in the same way that you made her feel better about herself, she made you feel better about yourself. She gave you a new purpose, a new kind of meaning in life, and that feeling was more valuable than all the money in the world. But despite all of that, and even though there were a lot of things that I didn't know at the time, I still chose to disown you, and I really wanted to apologize for that. So I went out of my way to tell you that I was sorry in that private message that I was sending to you. And the reply you sent to me, it was just so hopeful. You told me that I could take it from you that we've both made our share of mistakes. But just because we've made mistakes, we shouldn't beat ourselves up. We just have to learn from our mistakes, learn to make better decisions, and move forward. You admired me for actually looking back on what I was doing and wanting to make a better decision. And when I was conflicted about wanting to delete those rant videos, you told me that they should stay up. taking them down wouldn't have made a difference, because everybody already knew about them anyway. But more importantly, you said that I could use those rants to remind myself as an example of what I used to be, and how much better I've become since then. It could be a way of looking back on my darkest time and seeing how much I've evolved and how much I've grown and how much I've moved forward in the time that those were first put out. You can see how sorry I am for wanting to even make them in the first place, and how much I don't believe in them anymore. It would be a way of showing that nobody's perfect, but we can always put effort into making ourselves better. And you also told me about the importance of just being myself. I don't have to compare myself to others, and I don't even have to put myself below others. Biter was Biter in the same way that I'm me, and you're you. I shouldn't dwell too much on what other people think of me, because I know that it could bring me down. And you even told me why you shed a tear when you were listening to my apology. It was because I was showing you that I truly appreciated when someone was willing to take on a situation more delicately. You proceeded to tell me that you were forgiving of me, even though that was about the 4th time that I had to be told that. And you were even willing to show me a funny video to help cheer me up, which was something that I wasn't even expecting, and I didn't think it was something that was needed. Your words alone were enough to help me feel better. And you subscribing to my channel was something that I wasn't even thinking about, because at the time, that didn't matter to me. It wasn't important to me whether or not you subscribed to me. What was important is that we were making each other into better people. We were talking to each other, learning from each other, and we were doing something to make the other person happy. What truly makes all of this so special was because all of this was happening at a time that I didn't think I deserved it. You took every single bad thing that I said about you in that video, and you still offered your friendship to me. I didn't think you would, because of how ugly I was acting. I thought you were going to give me the typical response, with the kind of essence that you had during Season 4. I should have known better, that that's not who you are. I was just so angry. I was so mad at everything. And somehow, after the conversations we had, I didn't feel angry anymore. For the first time in so long, I was able to think clearly. I was able to think about you without feeling uncomfortable with myself. It was all because of that stupid drama and how it was influencing the way I looked at others. I was stubborn, and I couldn't express how I really felt. But now, I was able to. I completely forgot about my thoughts of wanting to be like Dr. Wolf or Silverquill or Josh Scorcher just because they were popular, or because they had a more positive insight on the show. The truth was, I really just wanted to be like you. Someone that other people could look up to and depend on, to feel better about themselves, even after all the mistakes they made. That's why, sometimes, I still think back to those private messages we had on DeviantArt. You have no idea how happy you made me that day. It was the first time someone in this fandom truly acknowledged me. I know you once told me that if I ever wanted to, that I could do a collab with you. You and I don't have to do a collab to understand each other better anyway. Ever since that day, even though we never said it, the truth is, we became friends. Which is why it pains me even more that I ever treated you the way that I did. I did a very, very mean thing to you. I did it because I wanted to feel like I was superior to you. And I never should have done that in the first place. Brett, I am so sorry. I think I understand why Pashy thinks of you as a big brother. Because you really are like one. You're supportive, you're kind-hearted, you give good advice, and you're there for people when they need you. You're funny, entertaining, and you're very capable of inspiring others. It's just a shame that we got off on the wrong foot, and so much of what happened could have easily been avoided. But the important thing is, that's in the past, and we've both been working towards learning from it. And before you make a comment about how I need to stop beating myself up, you don't have to, because I've been learning not to. And after everything is said and done, I am proud to call you my friend. And in several ways, I'm happy that I can be on the same boat as Pashy. I'm very happy that I can think of you as an older brother. Oh, now don't you start crying. I know I can't see your face, but I can totally tell. Well, I'd better wrap this up. I suppose there's only one thing left for me to say, and the thing is, Goldie, I'm very happy to have met you. Thank you for being there for Pashy, thank you for being there for Keyframe, and thank you for being there for me. Well, I'd better get going. It's getting late, and I haven't eaten anything since this morning. Oh, and, I hope you and Chrissy are doing great. Well, see you later, big bro.